Welcome to another week in the life in our little home in the woods. There were a lot of random projects this week that I was happy to finally check off my to-do list, and one of them was creating a flagstone pathway leading up to our deck. So one day I decided to go to the quarry, get some flagstone, and beautify the homestead front. I would say that I'm definitely a creative spirit. I really enjoy working with my hands and creating beautiful things out of nothing. And for the past year, my creative outlet was painting, but after a while, it became forced and I wasn't really intrinsically motivated by it anymore. Moving into our little home in the woods has reawakened that creative spirit in me, and it's allowed me to create things again out of nothing in a very different medium and a very different way. Using my entire body for very physical manual labor has actually been quite rejuvenating. I love moving my body and being physically active because it makes me feel really healthy. And so pairing physical activity with creating something has definitely contributed positively to my life. I feel like we so easily fall into a pattern of complacency and the ease of living, that life in the 21st century has given us. Adopting old farm-to-table ways and doing things yourself instead of hiring someone can be very rewarding. But it also occupies our time and our mind in a constructive way, rather than having too much free time to browse the internet and perhaps become involved in problems that are only there because thousands of others also have too much free time. Or at least they're not doing anything constructive with it. Having many physical things to do has definitely contributed positively to a healthy and sharp mind. And this particular project took about 6 hours out of my day, but I felt very accomplished, and it also felt really good to physically cross something off of my list with a pen. I'm done. Another thing that I got up to this week was, I don't want to say finishing the garden because that, I guess it's an ongoing project, but I did have this gap between the chicken wire and the top of the 8-foot frame, and my neighbor suggested putting some hanging tinfoil plates in that gap just to deter any birds or perhaps deer that were confident enough to jump through that gap. So I just spent a few minutes just hanging some plates in between those gaps. One of the things on Chris's to-do list was to build a bat box. So we have a lot of scrap wood that we either found around the property or they were just cut-offs off of other things, and so he tried to reuse all the pieces that we found and make a 2-layer bat box. And we have a lot of bugs in the forest, so we really want to attract our friendly bats so that they can come and make a home in this box and eat up 1,000 mosquitoes every single night so that we don't have to be bitten by all of them. And I think he did a pretty good job coming up with the design, just using all of the scrap materials that we had laying around. I've noticed a huge difference between my life living in the city in an apartment to living here for sure. In our previous chapter, we didn't really have any maintenance work or projects to complete since we lived in an apartment building. So instead we filled our time with work. And when we came home from work and we ate dinner and did basic domestic chores, we still had a lot of time in the evening, which we spent on more work. You can call it self-improvement, finances, education, but it was all work in the end. And while I believe that this was instrumental in allowing us to pursue our freedom dreams, looking back on it now, we realized how mind-numbing that was for us to do that, day in and day out for years. And though we were learning or, quote, bettering ourselves, we were completely lacking actually, building things and doing things with our hands rather than sitting in front of a screen. And while I completely agree that you can definitely accomplish a balance while working in an apartment and, doing all those other things, it is quite a bit easier when you live on a chunk of land that does require a lot of maintenance, and, you have a lot of creative ideas to create things. Another long-standing project on our to-do list was to create a little bit of a structure for our wood stack pile. We had accumulated quite a bit of wood over the last couple of weeks and months just from cutting down a few trees on our property, and some of our neighbors gave us extra wood that they didn't use anymore. So we had over 3 full cords of wood that we needed to weatherproof, I suppose, if we wanted to use it for this coming winter in our wood stove. And the tarp just wasn't cutting it, because anytime it became a slight bit windier, it would just blow the tarp right off, or it would blow it off in certain areas, and then that whole area would get soaked with rain. And it didn't look very sightly, so we just bit the bullet and bought a bunch of wood for this project, which is more than the price of gold at this point, or it's worth more than gold. Obviously not, but it is quite expensive these days. And we constructed the frame of this little wood stack. So the final project, I know some people are going to say that this was not strong enough, but don't worry, we did add more wood after we put the tarp on, after I finished filming, just based on some recommendations of some other people. So this was reinforced with a lot more wood, so do not worry about that. So those were our projects this week. I really hope you enjoyed our video this week, and I hope you decide to stick around, subscribe to this channel, and follow along with our little homesteading journey.